What's everybody? Welcome to I-84, the Baseball Fanatic. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about a stadium that's one in the new. Oh, I'm picking up some stadium that is in the middle of the desert. A stadium that is fairly new for the baseball stadiums that were created during this era, and that was actually quite old. It was state of the art at the time. It was the second uh, retractable roof in Major League Baseball, being behind Toronto. And a World Series has been won here. It was expansion team, and I've never ever seen this roof open ever. Except here's a picture on here of the 2003 World Series. So this team's been to the World Series twice. This team has won once, and like like a lot of teams, they have these ups and downs where they do really really well and they're like a dominant team, and then they come crashing down. They made it to the World Series last year purely as like this like out of left field team, and they put the stuff together at the right time during the All-Star break and plowed through. I believe they were a wild card team, if I remember correctly, last year. We're talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the field we're talking about today is Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, I've been to Chase Field once before. I went there in 2011 during my Southwest baseball road trip, which included Anaheim, Dodger Stadium, and San Diego. And this stadium was very, very interesting. A few things about it. It's downtown Phoenix, which in most downtown cities, there's not much going on, especially once you get to the west. And once you get out of the Northeast, there's not much going on in downtown cities on the weekends. So I went to this game on a Saturday. It was 110 degrees outside. The roof was closed. It was a nice, beautiful 72 degrees inside Chase Field. They keep the roof closed most of the time, basically because it's so hot. It makes sense. That's the whole reason. The Rangers got a new stadium with a retractable roof that never opens because it's always too hot in Texas in the summer, and it's always too hot in Arizona in the desert, and they keep it closed, understandably. The stadium opened in 1998 when the Diamondbacks came into Major League Baseball as an expansion team along with the Tampa Bay Rays. Ooh, it is hot today. I wish I was on a retractable roof. It holds about 50,000 people for a baseball game. Holds about 53,000 for a concert. It was called Bank One Ballpark, I guess, from 1998 to 05. We know it as Chase Field. And like I said, it's home to the Diamondbacks. It retractable roof over a natural glass playing surface, although it used artificial turf since 2019. So when I went to see it, they had grass there. But since then, they use the field turf. Easy to maintain. Tough to grow grass in the desert. Completely understandable. Not much around the stadium. I remember walking up to the stadium on game day about a half hour before the game started, and there was not much around. There's a parking structure next to it, and that's all I remember. There was nothing going on. There was no game fair. There was no people out and about. No street vendors. I mean, it was hot as hell, so I can understand why. But basically, it was kind of like, here's a building. I guess there's a game tonight. The attendance was extremely low. There's not a lot of people there. So they broke ground in the stadium back in looks like November 16th, 1995. So it was right around the time they were rewarded the expansion right here. Construction of the park began in 1996. It was finished just before the Diamondbacks' first season in 1988. It was the third MLB stadium to have a retractable roof and the first in the United States. Oh, I guess. Okay, sorry. Technically, Montreal Stadium de Olympic has a retractable roof. Technically, it never worked. So the Rogers Center, it was the first retractable roof for baseball in the United States. We knew that. I still will consider it the second retractable roof because that cloth roof they used on the Olympic Stadium never worked. And every time they try to use it, it just never worked. It's just it doesn't work. So I will not count that one, even though technically it's the third retractable roof in baseball. But it is what it is. Obviously hosted the World Series there in 01. They beat the Yankees. You had Randy Johnson on that team. It was pretty kick-ass. Architecturally, they have a pool. and left in right field, which actually sat above it. And you could buy those seats, and you could sit there and swim around and watch baseball. Sure, why not? I guess the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins. I guess the Marlins have something like that. They used to have that at Dolphin Stadium. They used to have hot tubs um, in the foul territory going into right field. I remember they had 3 hot tubs set up with like a little bar. I mean, you were in the line of a foul ball. There was nothing protecting you. You were just out in the field because there was so much foul territory there. This is set up above the wall and in right field, and you can kind of sit over and look at it. Let's see. The ballpark features a dirt stripe between home plate and the pitcher's mound. A dirt strip, sometimes known as a keyhole, very common in old-time ballparks. That is true. There's only one other ballpark that has this in Major League Baseball. And it's, well, I don't think they have it anymore. Not since they put the artificial turf in there. Let's see. Comerica has it. The Tigers play. There's a stripe that goes straight up. But I'm reading this right now, and I lost my place here. But they no longer have that stripe anymore because they have the artificial turf there, and it is what it is. Pitcher's mound, until 2019, exactly. Until they put the fake dirt in there. The dirt strip, sometimes known as the keyhole, was very common in old-time ballparks. Up to 1938, the dirt strip was to remove when the synthetic surfaces were put on. Comerica Park, the only park to still have it to this day. The park's foul territory, somewhat larger than most ballparks built in the 90s, with 80% of the seats in foul territory. The upper deck is the highest in the majors. Did not know that. Probably since that Shea Stadium's gone, because that one was pretty damn high. But it makes sense. You have to be very, very high in order to accommodate a roof that's going to be out of clearance and not worried about getting hit. Before the 2008 season began, the HD scoreboard was installed beyond center field, replacing the original. The Diamondbacks and St. Louis Cardinals game on September 24th, 2009 was the longest game in Chase Field history. It lasted 6 hours, 53 minutes, and 19 innings. Stadium was called Bank One when Bank One of Chicago, Illinois purchased the rights for $10 million over 30 years. After Bank One merged with New York-based JP Morgan Chase, it changed to Chase Field. Stadium occasionally has concerts in it. They play college sports. Looks like they have a football stadium. You could put the Cheez-It Bowl was in there in 2019. They could fit a football field in there. ASU played the Tennessee Volunteers in the same facility. Let's see. Venue staff closed the roof in effort to finish the game. Oh, Chase Field was staged 9 women's college basketball games. The second game, played on December 18, 2006, was shortened by rain with 4 minutes and 8 seconds remaining in the Arizona State lead in Texas 6-4. The venue closed the roof in effort to finish the game, but officials deemed the court to be unsafe. So they actually played the basketball game with the roof open. Interesting they wouldn't have closed it, but I guess that's interesting. I don't know. Weird. Everything's been here. Every type of sport you could think. This is climate change. This isn't Celsius. I don't know how to read Celsius, but I'll tell you the story when I went there. So I went there part of a road trip. It was my last stadium of this road trip. I had flew into Phoenix. I drove straight up to the Grand Canyon, went to Vegas, then went to San Diego, then drove up to Dodger Stadium, went back to Vegas, went back to Anaheim, and then went to Phoenix. And so I get to Phoenix. I don't even think I checked into my hotel. I think I went right to the game. I stopped at a convenience store because I was running late, grabbed a 6-pack of beer, went right to the game. I was staying in Scottsdale at the time. I wasn't actually staying in Phoenix, so I wasn't in walking distance or anything like that to the game. Went to the game, stayed there. It was kind of boring. I don't remember much about the game. I remember the field was interesting. I remember I was sitting in right field. I remember walking around, got my picture, looking out into home plate, walked out to the outfield. Back in those days, I wasn't as interested in the shape, the feel, and the looks of the stadium as I am now when I go to stadiums and see most of these for the second time, third time or more. I regret it a little bit, but I was also in my 20s and I was looking to go to the game and then go out drinking and partying afterwards. So, as soon as the game was over, I was gone. So I remember going to Scottsdale and I was in this neighborhood, like I think it was called Old Town, I believe it's called there. And they had, the whole town you get around with golf carts and stuff. And they had this bar, and I don't remember the name of the bar, but it's an interesting bar because it had this guy who was a little person. He was the host. Let's see, midget. I don't want to call them midgets. I think that's politically correct. Host in Scottsdale. I think it was Scottsdale. Oh, here it is. Yes, very. It was called Jillian's Sandbar. And I remember they had this thing. Yes, here it is. It's spelled Gilligin. Yes, this is exactly what it is. I'm looking at it right now. Jillian Sandbar. It was awesome. They had this little guy. He was the host. They had goldfish. Yeah, this is exactly what it is. They had like this corrugated steel bar, a lot of neon. It was in walking distance of my hotel, which was great. They had goldfish racing. So what they did was they got like these giant PVC pipes and they sliced them down the middle and they filled them with water. They cap filled fins and they filled them with water and they dropped the goldfish in there. And then you had squirt guns and you had to squirt the goldfish, and whoever's goldfish got to the end won. I think it won bear or something like that. But it was a hell of a time. I mean, I was there, God, all night long. I can't believe I forgot the name of the place. It took me years to try to remember it. But it's got, yeah, Gilligan's. I don't know how you pronounce it. In Scottsdale in Old Town, definitely must do. But that was the highlight of that trip. It was my last day. The next morning, I was flying back to Massachusetts, and my road trip was over. And that was a hell of a road trip too, because that was like 5 days with zero money. I mean, I had maxed out a few credit cards while I was on this trip just to get the hotel rooms I needed. So it's the first time I went. I had my hotels for Vegas set because I stayed at a Courtyard one night, and then the second time I was there, I stayed at the Excalibur. So I had those booked. I guess I had my Dodgers hotel booked. No, my my Anaheim one, and I guess I had my I didn't have my San Diego one booked, which was weird. I guess because the prices are so astronomical. I ended up staying in La Jolla instead, which was like a half hour north of the city. And I think I talked about this when I talked about Petco Park last time we did the show. But yeah, I remember being in Vegas the day I was heading to San Diego, booking my hotel room on a whim, and I didn't know where I was staying. Downtown was so damn expensive. It was just so expensive. I didn't know how I was going to pull it. I thought I was going to be sleeping in my car that night, which, in retrospect, I probably would have been better off because the way to get from La Jolla to downtown San Diego and back was an absolute nightmare. But one of the funnest nights of the trip was this time in Scottsdale. So I'd suggest if you're going to go see a Diamondbacks game, there's not much going on in Phoenix, to be honest with you. Stay in Scottsdale. I think it's like a half-hour drive to the stadium. Check it out. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. I had a great time myself. You go to this bar. Maybe the little guy's still working there. I don't know. It was 13 years ago. Who knows? But overall, it was a good time. So that was my experience there at Chase Field, formerly Bank One Ballpark. Nice stadium. Nothing great about it. I mean, the cool retractable roof, the hot tub in right field, I guess. There wasn't really anything that really grabbed me. You know, I feel like that's the same about all these enclosed stadiums. I guess when you build a stadium and you have to put a roof around it, you're really limited to what you could do. And what it looks like and stuff, and the amount of stuff you can put into it. I guess it's really restricted because now you have to compensate for this roof, and you're losing a lot of money that you put into the ballpark on the roof. The roof costs probably a third of what the whole entire stadium costs, right? So, a roof that opens and no one uses. But that's besides the point. But I don't know. It was cool. So check it out if you're ever in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale area. Go see a Diamondbacks game. I don't know how they're doing this year. I don't think they're doing that hot, but last year they did good. So and they picked up the speed after All-Star break. So you might luck out and go to Jillian's or Gillian's, whatever the hell it's called, and tell them Howdy 84 sent you. They'll probably have no idea what you're talking about. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week when we talk about another stadium. I think we have 5 stadiums in there at this point. So we got 25 active ones to go, and several and 5 active ones. I think we have 30 stadiums left to talk about. So until then, you guys have a good night, and I will see you guys next week. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave your comments below. Thank you.